Instant Browns react here. As you can see, I'm actually on location. I'm at my dad's house. So we're going to keep this one a little short today. The Browns lose to the Atlanta Falcons today by the score of 23-20. As you can actually see, and I'm sorry about that bottom graphic. That was actually from last week. The Browns now 2-2. They'll be on. They'll be home to the Chargers. And even with busted up ribs, Justin Herbert threw for over 300 yards and getting the Chargers to a win today. Atlanta now raises a record to 2-2 and will be at Tampa next week. The Browns, this was a very, very winnable game going into the coming off the long week over the Steelers victory, and then everything got away from them. So for another week, we actually heard a story of something that was not even football related affecting the outcome of Browns game. This time it was Myles Garrett I don't even say joyriding, but reckless driving, causing an accident that kept him out. And who knows if he'll be ready in time for next week against the Chargers. And also missing Jadeveon Clowney as he continues to be injury prone. Although when he's in there, he's absolutely dominating. Missing another defensive tackle, although Perion Winfrey did play very well today. Jacob Phillips did play very well, but the Browns in this one, you can't really fault Chubb or Hunt. The running game was certainly going as a team. The Browns did rush for over 150 yards. The only problem was Atlanta rushed for over 200. The Browns, it was not a matter of what they could do. It's that would the defense be able to stop? The Browns had 177 yards on 35 carries. Atlanta also had 35 carries, but again, that 202 yards was a backbreaker. The Browns were 1 of 3 in the red zone. The Falcons were 2 of 4. Browns had 7 penalties for 51 yards. Atlanta only had 1 for 15, which was ironically enough an offensive face mask on a play that actually would have wiped out them going even deeper into the Browns territory. The Browns had 403 yards of offense in this game and actually had the ball for over 35 minutes, and they still lost. They were 5 of 14 on third down. They were 2 of 3 on fourth down. The backbreaker, though, was the one that you did not convert on. Was 4th and goal at the Atlanta 3, and they decided to go for it rather than put points on the board. And we're going to get to that here in a second because it's Stefanski being Stefanski again. And then Jacoby Brissett, of all things, throws the ball out of the back of the end zone to where it actually hits the barrier wall, be it behind the goalposts. But Stefanski, quite honestly, the Browns ownership needs to put a rule in, and I think I've said this on my shows and also on the Wise Guy shows before, that Jimmy Haslam and ownership needs to put a rule in, and let's actually upgrade that. There was because originally I was saying fine him $10,000 if he doesn't, fine him $100,000 if he goes for it on fourth down and blows it with his idiotic play calling. And this is why, regardless of what the record's going to be when Deshaun Watson comes back, and then how successful they might be with Deshaun Watson, they're not going to go anywhere as long as Kevin Stefanski is still calling the plays on the offense. Alex Van Pelt needs the offensive play calling. Again, you cannot put this on Chubb and Hunt. They got theirs today. Nick Chubb had another monster game. As you can actually see here, 118 yards on 18 carries and did have a touchdown. The continuity with David Njoku was also there. Again, following up his 9-reception game against the Squealers, had 5 catches for 73 yards, but had a very costly fumble in the second quarter. You can't really put the fumble too much on him, though, because he did have the ball secured, and the defender hit him right in the hand with the helmet. The helmet wasn't even on the ball. It was right on the hand, and I don't care who you are. You take a full-speed helmet to your hand, you're coughing up that ball, and Atlanta eventually recovers and then goes in for a touchdown to go up 10-0. It was definitely a missed opportunity here, and you actually can. I'm going to put if you're going to put a scapegoat on this one, some might actually say Stefanski for the play calling. I'm going to put this one on Myles Garrett because again, the foolish off-field decision making. Had he been in there, or Clowney been in there, or the defensive tackle, his name's eluding me right now. Had they not been playing three-quarters of their, had three-quarters of the defensive line not been out for this game, we would have seen a much different story. Atlanta does not run for 200 yards if one of those guys plays, let alone two. Chubb getting 6.2 yards per carry. Yeah, it's Atlanta's got a porous run defense, and the Browns could go up and down the field wherever they want. Problem was Atlanta was doing the exact same thing to the Browns defense, and I don't care what you say about the fact that he had an interception. Denzel Ward had another, I thought, subpar game. He got thrown all over the place by Cordell Patterson on the touchdown run. He had a terrible personal foul late in the game that actually kept a drive going for the Falcons, which inevitably turned into a score. The Browns secondary leaving another receiver with nobody within 15 yards to keep a drive going in the second half. This was on coaching, but it's also that we are now starting to see exactly what this team is. This team went out and spent a whole bunch of money on a couple of key or big name free agents, but honestly, Amari Cooper had one catch today and wasn't even a factor anywhere else. I think he was only targeted maybe, I could only remember 3 times. I'd have to go back and look. But the 2 turnovers, and again, the key is the Browns' 2 losses this year were turnovers in the on the final drive. It was and they were both Jacoby Brissett making poor decisions, trying to force the ball over the middle to a tight end, and with plenty of time be able to have better options or let guys get open or simply throw the ball away. I understand the Browns didn't actually have any timeouts at that point, but it was perfect. It was the perfect storm. You had you even picked up 5 yards instead of actually trying to go for broke on that, you give Cade York a much better shot of tying the game. You still, with the way that you were going up and down the field, could have potentially put the ball in the end zone. And I'm sorry, I keep looking over. My dad actually has the New England and Green Bay game on the big screen while he's outside having a cigar real quick. But this was a definite winnable game because you're likely going to fall below 500 when the Chargers come into First Energy Stadium this time next week. And here was a team that actually could have ended up starting this season 4-0 and is now 2-2. And we were talking about what are they going to look like when Deshaun Watson comes back? Was this going to be something that they were going to be 7-4? Were they going to be 8-3? Well, at this particular point with this part of their schedule, you wanted to come out of this. We were seeing at least 2-2, but it was definitely something where you could have been 3-1, 4-0. And it's now to the point where with the fact of how well Brissett is managing the game on offense, but to lose 2 games based off of poor decision making because the defense has let them down in the second half in really every game but the Steelers game so far this year. Is a detriment to really this team is probably not as good as a lot of people are thinking that they are, which for somebody who will not be cheering against this team, who will actively be cheering against this team once Deshaun Watson comes back in the first week of December, is basically par for the course right now. Again, you've got Njoku now starting to earn that big contract. You've got Denzel Ward right now with that overinflated contract, and I got a feeling that's going to come back and bite him in the ass more than the Wilson contract. But let's actually see where they are over the course of the next couple of weeks. Let's actually see if Brissett can kind of settle himself down. He played a very good game, very manageable game, which is exactly what you want him to do. And why they did not continue, why they abandoned the run on third down really late in that final drive where Brissett threw the interception is completely puzzling, because they could do whatever they wanted to on the ground, even though Atlanta could do the exact same thing again with 17 consecutive runs with Patterson on the bench and ripping off huge chunks of yards. We knew that Hunt was going to break a big one. He got a 20-yard run. We knew Chubb was going to break a big one, ended up scoring on the very, very next play. But it's definitely something you should not have a guy off the practice squad, essentially like Algier was for the Falcons, ripping off 84 yards on just 10 carries after Patterson went out with an apparent injury or something, or was getting checked out for a little while. But let me know what you guys think, and I will actually see you guys probably later on tonight back home with our latest episode of the Sports Note, the traditional Sports Note. And again, Wise Guy Sports Show coming your way on Saturday, October 15th. We will see you then. Take care, and I will see you with the reaction again next week.